if you came in late or you weren't here when I introduced myself, my name is Mrs. Herman, and I'm going to be hanging out in here with Ms. Tedesco today. And we wanted to do a lesson with you guys on unpacking the prompt. Okay? So when you get a race response and something to read, it always comes with a writing prompt, right? Are those writing prompts usually short or long?
Long.
They're long and there's lots of words in it, right? So this strategy that I'm going to teach you today is going to help you when you come across one of those writing prompts that's really long and it has a lot of words. Okay? All right, can you go to our first slide, Ms. Tedesco? So, CMAS. Do you guys remember what CMAS is? We didn't have to take it last year.
Yes.
You remember what it is?
Yes.
What is it?
Test that's really, really hard.
The big, long test, right? This is a strategy that's going to help you on that test specifically. It will also help you when you're writing a race response for Ms. Tedesco, okay? It's going to help you understand what a prompt is asking you to do and how many steps are involved so that you know how to write with a purpose and answer the question correctly. Okay? All right, next slide. Okay, so on your table in front of you, you have a little card that looks just like this. And I'm going to ask for some volunteers to help me read what's on this card. Okay? So, I'm going to call on 6 people. Can I have 6 people raise their hand and volunteer? Okay, Dylan, you're going to do number 1. Leland, you're going to do number 2. Who's going to do number 3 for me? Thank you. Danielle, can I have you do number 4? Okay. Number 5, I need somebody to do 5. Thank you at the back. And number 6, Glory, thank you so much, I appreciate that. Okay, so person number 1, can you read what it says there? You also have it on your card if you can't see that. Who is my number 1?
Read the writing prompt.
Read the writing prompt. That one we can do, right? You have to read it to know what it's going to say. Okay, number 2.
Put background information in parentheses.
In parentheses, okay? Parentheses, they look like this. You have a picture of them right here. Okay, put background information in parentheses. Good. Person 3.
Box academic verbs.
Yes, box academic verbs. We're going to talk about some examples of academic verbs in just a second. 4.
Underline the task.
Underline the task. The task is what it's asking you to do. Okay? Is it called a task in Among Us? What does it mean when you're playing Among Us and you have to complete a task? What does that mean? Okay, so it means that you have to go do something, right? You have to go do something. It's your job to do it, right? So if you are reading, your job is to understand what the task is in the writing prompt, and then you know what you have to write. You know what you have to do, okay? All right, number 5.
Number the steps in the writing prompt. Each verb you box is one part of the writing prompt to include in your answer.
Yeah, each verb tells you that you have to do one thing in that writing prompt, okay? And number 6.
Oh, use the steps to plan your answer.
Yep, number 6 is really easy too. All you're going to do is make sure that you're using your steps to plan what you're going to write, okay? Down here, I have an example for you guys, okay? All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, I have some academic verbs for you to look at, okay? I'm going to just start pointing to people and I want you to tell me what one of them is up there, okay? All right. Who haven't I heard from yet? Manuel, what's one of our academic verbs? Write. Write. Okay? Show me how you would write. Just in the air. How would you write? Right? Verbs are action words. They're things that we can see each other doing. Okay? Academic verbs usually have to do with doing something that has to do with writing and reading. Okay, that's why it's an academic verb. What's another one?
Explain.
Explain. Good. What's one more, Alfredo?
Support.
Support. I'm going to have us come all the way down here to this bottom one. What's this bottom one? Cite, right? That's something we do a lot in race responses. We're good at that. Okay? All right, questions about our academic verbs? No? Okay, good. Go to the next one for me, Miss Tedesco. Okay, so here's an example of one that we have up here. Ms. Tedesco, at this time, I'm going to have you switch over to the Google Doc for me. And we are going to work on unpacking one of these together, okay? Then you're going to get a chance to practice it with a partner. And then, if you flip over your paper, there's one there for you to do on your own. Okay? All right. Can you blow this up for us as big as you can, Miss Tedesco? So that we can, oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. Can you scroll up just a little bit so it's a little bit higher on the board? Great. Okay. You guys all have this in front of you on prompt number 1. Okay, you see it there? Okay. Now, who was my first person earlier? That was you, right, Dylan? What do we have to do for step number 1?
Read the writing prompt.
We have to read the writing prompt. Can I have a volunteer to read the writing prompt? Thank you, sir. Go right ahead.
The word impact means having a strong effect on someone or something. After reading the text, how did the environment impact Aztec agriculture? Cite at least one piece of evidence to support your answer.
Great. Thank you for that. All right. Earlier, we read it. Who read number 2? Who was my number 2? That was you, right, Leland? What does it say that we do?
Put background information in parentheses.
Put background information in parentheses. Now, you know how earlier Dylan reminded us that these writing prompts can be really long? Sometimes at the beginning of the writing prompt, there's information that's important for us to read, but we don't need it to answer the question. Okay? Can you guys help me figure out where that background information starts and stops in this sentence? I'm going to give you a clue. It's usually the first or second sentence in the writing prompt. So where should we, yes? Let me come a little closer. Say that one more time. Say that one more time. It is the first sentence. Thank you for being patient since I have obviously hard of hearing. It is the first sentence. Can you tell me why you chose the first sentence? Was it my clue or was there something else?
There's something else. It says in the second one, after reading the text, and then it starts with a question.
You're absolutely right. So we have to look at the first sentence, but then we have to look at what the rest of the prompt is asking us. And what she said is if you put the first sentence in parentheses, the second sentence is where our question starts. And that was her clue that she used. Now, what's magic about this is we can forget about what we put in parentheses. Okay? It's important for our text and what we're reading, but we don't really need it to know what we have to write. Does that make sense? Okay. That's what I really like about this strategy, is it gives us a little bit of this big long prompt that we can kind of put aside for right now. Okay? I appreciate how I saw Danielle writing what I had up here on the board. If you haven't done that yet, could you do it for me? Thank you so much. All right. Who read us step 3. Okay, can you read step 3 again for us, please?
It's box academic verbs.
Box academic verbs. Okay. Let's think back to that list. Gloria, can you find one?
Sight.
Sight, yes. So I'm going to put a box around it. All right. I can see a few more up there.
Support.
Support, yes. We are supporting. What else are we doing?
Explain.
We are explaining. Now, I left my notes at the back of the room. So, let's reread this and make sure that we didn't leave any academic verbs unboxed. Okay, I'm going to start right here. After reading the text, explain how the environment impacted Aztec architecture. Cite at least one piece of evidence to support your answer.
Water.
So the next thing we do is we underline the task, okay? So I need eyes up here. You put your finger on the first box and you say, explain what? What do you have to explain? You have to explain how the environment impacted Aztec architecture. That's what you're explaining. Does that make sense? Okay, let's look at this one. Cite. You say cite. Cite what? What are we citing? At least
One piece of evidence.
one piece of evidence. Okay? Now, support. Support what? Your answer. Okay? So that's the trick for number 4. You point at the box and you say, explain what? How the environment impacted Aztec architecture. We're citing what? At least one piece of evidence. Supporting what? Our answer. Okay? Does that make sense? Good. Questions so far? Nobody has a question floating around in their little heads? Okay. Who is my person number 5? Awesome. Can you read number 5 for me, please?
Number the steps in the writing prompt. Each verb, each box is one part of the writing prompt to include the answer.
Great. So where do I put my first number 1? Glory?
The parentheses.
We're only, go back and look at your notes. Number the steps in the writing prompt. Each verb you boxed is one step. So where do we put our first number?
Explain and then cite and then support.
Thank you. So explain is number 1. Cite is number 2. Support is number 3. Oh, you did them already. Thank you. Okay. Next. Step number 6. Who had 6? Glory, thank you.
The steps to show the answer.
Yes, so next is taking it, and if you flip over your page, right, you see either the triangle or the lines that you can write in to start organizing your answers. Okay? All right, great. Let's go, Ms. Tedesco, can you scroll up for us? Okay. All right. Prompt number 2. I am going to ask you to complete this with a shoulder partner. Okay? So we'll do Alfredo and Dylan, you two, you two, you two, You two? You two? And then you're going to be a third person in a group. Do you want to join this group or this group? It's a big decision. Join that group. Yes. Huh? Well, I would appreciate if you talk to your partner for this one, and this will be the only time we're doing partner work today. Okay? All right. Good questions. All right. You and your partner are going to try to follow the steps to figure this out. Okay? All right. Partner that is closest to the door. Your job is to read number 1. You're going to do number 1 and read the prompt. Okay? Questions before we start? Okay. All right. Partner A, read the prompt to partner B. Go. You can turn around. Who's going to be A right here? You going to be A? Be partner A and read it.
Evidence from both authors of writing.
Okay, you've completed step number 1. All right, step 2, what do you do? Oh, you got to go through the steps. Okay, what's step 2?
Put background information into.
Okay, let's put those background information in parentheses. Go ahead and do that. Remember, it's probably the first sentence or 2. Good. Great. I see a lot of you got that first step done. Danielle, did your group get that first step done? Okay. Sorry, second step. Third step, box those academic verbs. Box those academic verbs. I'm going to give you a clue. You're looking for 3. You are looking for 3. Let me know if you want me to put my list of academic verbs back up on the board. Actually, no, let's keep going. You guys are doing great. All right, step 4. Underline the task. Look at that first boxed verb, and you say the word, and then you say what, and then that's what you underline. Explain what, support what. All right, good, you guys are quick. Okay, now number your box verbs. Step number 5, number the steps, number your boxed verbs. All right, Miss Tedesco, they're pretty quick with this.
Perfect.
All right, so now when you come down here where it says practice prompt number 2, correct example, can you scroll up for us or down for us just a little bit? There we go. Now we're going to do this together, and we are going to write what I write on the board so we can make sure that we have the correct example. So these 2 are the same on here, okay? All right, where do we put our parentheses? Dylan.
You put recently honeybees and then all the way to honeybees. All the way down there.
All the way to here?
Yep.
Yeah. Now that, when I was going around, I saw some of you and your parentheses after the first sentence, okay? If you did it that way, it's not necessarily wrong. It is not wrong, okay? You are still going to box your verbs, you're still going to count your steps and underline your tasks, and you're still going to know what you need to write in your essay or in your race response. Okay? It's okay if you didn't if you didn't put the right things in parentheses. You still have your verbs boxed and you know what to do. Okay? Good job. All right. What's step 2 again? I don't even know. Do we need our little half sheets of paper or do we have these memorized? What's step 2? Oh, we did it already. Sorry. Step 3.
Academic words.
Academic verbs. What's our first one?
Explain.
It's explain. Okay? So, if you had discuss boxed, your race response is still going to be awesome. Okay? It's just an extra step that you're already going to do when you restate and answer the question. That's what you're doing when you restate and answer. You're discussing the basic beginning of your writing prompt in your answer. Okay? Explain is definitely one. What's another one? Somebody from the back. I have not heard from the back row in a while. What's another verb we can box up here? Support. Good. And there's one more in between the two. Yes, ma'am. Provide. Yes. Okay, what's our next step? What do we do next?
Underline the task.
Underline the tasks. So we point to the box and we say what?
How or what?
What? Explain what?
The process for writing.
For writing each text. Okay? Provide what? Evidence from both texts. Oh my gosh, that's so important. Both texts we have to have evidence from. Oh, I'm glad we unpacked this prompt because it reminded me that I have to have evidence from both. And what's our last one? Support the answer. Good. Great. We have one last step to do. Number them. Yep, this is the easy part. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I have a question. When you number these academic verbs, and you explain, and you provide evidence, and you support your answer, what does that remind you of? What does that remind you of when you're discussing an article, you're explaining it, you're providing evidence, and you're supporting your answer?
Race.
It does. It reminds us of race. Right? Our race responses. Okay? When you break down these steps, you start to see the pieces of a race response. And all of a sudden, this big long writing prompt is in little chunks that you already know how to complete. Okay? You just have to figure out what it's asking you to do. All right. Are you guys ready to try one on your own?
Yeah.
Some people have already started, Miss Tedesco. They're pretty awesome. Okay, here we go. Flip over those papers. And you're going to see a writing prompt at the top of the page. Okay? I want you to go through your steps individually, not with your partner this time, not with me. And I want you to unpack that writing prompt. Okay? I am going to give you 4 minutes. Think really hard about what the background information is because that really sets you up to be successful. Questions? Nope, you're just answering or unpacking this prompt right here. So you're using your steps to just unpack your writing prompt. Not reading and writing yet. Okay, good question. All right. What do you think your background information is? Nope, we're ignoring this. Uh-oh. Miss Tedesco?
Yes.
I think we have a little bit of confusion. Can you go to the next screen, or I'm sorry, the next page for me where we have our Mayan writing prompts? Okay, guys. I know that there's reading on this page too, and there's a big place to write, and we're gonna do the reading and the writing in a minute. Right now, all I want you to do is focus on this prompt. So pretend there's a line right here, and I just want you to unpack this prompt. Okay? Just mark on the prompt. Use your card to go through the steps. Okay. Dylan, you said you already started. That's totally fine. We're going to do the writing prompt as well. Focusing on your R and your A today.
I already did half of the answer.
This one's a little tricky, guys. Sometimes those parentheses don't need a whole sentence. Sometimes it takes a whole sentence to get rid of the background. Sometimes it's 2 sentences. Okay? All right, about 15 more seconds to finish up. All right, looks like everybody's about done. All right. Every writing prompt is different. Okay? Sometimes they fit our formula and our steps perfectly, and sometimes the background information or the verbs or something is tricky. So that's why we practice different kinds of prompts that look different. Okay? So this one is a little bit different than the 2 that you did before. Okay? All right. Who wants to be super brave and tell me where we should put our parentheses for our background information? I am going to call on Leland. Leland, where would you put your background information parentheses?
I put mine from after until the comma.
After to the comma. Okay. If you put your parentheses right here, raise your hand. Okay, good, good. No worries, no worries. I got 3 of you. How many put your parentheses way down here? Okay, good. But what did you do with this academic verb? Did you still box it anyways?
Yep.
Okay, that works too. Okay. Were there any other people, did anybody do anything other than these 2 things? What'd you do? response. Write a response. That works. Okay. What about you, Alfredo?
I didn't put it.
Oh, you didn't use the background information parentheses? Okay. All right. Now, I would say that if you put your parentheses right here, that's where I put mine when I did this. Okay? This would have been my second choice. I always try to think of what you guys will come up with. And I figured that you would probably put them here and here. Okay? Either one of those two choices would get you to the correct verbs to be boxed and your tasks to be underlined. Does that make sense? Okay. But for this one, we're going to go with right here. Okay? All right. After reading the passage below about Mayan agriculture, what's our first academic verb? Right. Okay, box it. What's our next academic verb? Explains. Good job. Oops, my shadow's in the way. Okay, explains. What's our next?
Support.
There's a tricky one. It's not technically an academic verb, but we've got to box it for this to work.
Use it.
Use evidence. Yep. So we're going to do use. And then whoever said support next, you were absolutely right. Now, I see some of you making some marks and some changes. I would suggest that if you didn't do this way, that if your parentheses were wrong, leave those. That's fine because it works. But let's get these boxed correctly. You should have 4. Okay, what's our next step? What do we do next? Underline the tasks. So, can somebody tell me when I put my finger right here, what do I say? Write what? Write what? A race response. Say it with me. Explain. What? Oh, we're going to try that again. So it's not just me and Danielle. You ready? Explain what? Good. How farming methods help the Mayans survive. Okay? Eyes up here. We're going to say it together. Use. Oh my gosh, Miss Tedesco. Are you guys ready? We're going to do it again. Use. Oh, I can hear them. Use what? Evidence from the text. Do you think they'll get it this time?
I hope so.
Me too. Support.
What?
Ah, your answer. Okay. We have one more step that's really important. What do we need to do? Number them. What do I put right here? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, last time Dylan pointed out that our numbers really help us kind of connect to what a race response should have in it. Does this one do that as well? Okay. It does, right? Because at first you have to explain. First you restate an answer, right? But then after the restating an answer, you have to support your answer. You have to explain it. And of course, we're using evidence and writing a race response.